This is a $50 set of recovery boards. That is $170 worth. And these ones here are the top of the range at $500. Well, are they really that different? And what set should you actually buy? I'm gonna be testing the 3 different recovery boards that I have from 3 different brands. We're gonna be testing which one has the best material makeup. That is some surprising results. Which ones are the most flexible / strong, and a couple more things, but most importantly, which ones are the best recovery boards. And funny enough, I'm kind of bogged right now. So let's do the first test and see how each 3 go, getting me out of a pretty easy bog. And the 3 sets that we're going to be comparing today, starting from the cheapest, are actually a set that I got for free when I got my front and rear bar done. They're just a Chinese knockoff. I'm assuming the cheapest materials possible and probably going to be good enough, but break really easily. And then we have the treads, which are about $170 new. These are a bit of an older model, and I'm intrigued to see how they go, but I have had these ones for a bunch of years now. And then we have the maxtrax extremes, which are the top of the range, $500, but I have high hopes for these in pretty much every test that we do, but you never know, one might surprise us. So test number 1, we're just going to use the cheap Chinese ones first to get ourselves out of the bog. We're going to go from cheapest to most expensive for every test for the rest of this video. I'm going to try to bog myself about the same each time. Work to be expected. Okay, bogged myself again. Now for number 2, the treads. It just didn't grip properly, but that was probably more of my packing than anything else. I've done myself some mischief. Seems this tire might want to track. I'm just gonna have to actually unbog myself here. And I do know that this isn't a perfect test. It's just a bit of fun, and it's gonna be good, useful information from someone that's not sponsored by any of these brands and kind of wish they knew which ones they should have got from the start. Let's see if that gets us out. And that, kids, is why you absolutely should have a rear locker, because I actually kind of was getting a bit stuck there. Put the rear locker on and just cruised out, no worries. And then of course, last but not least, maxtrax. Okay, and now test number 2, which I honestly think is going to be the second most important one, is going to be the flexing test. Because although they're made to recover you from sand and stuff, they're also really, really useful for rocks. And this is going to give a good indicator of how long they're going to last you in all different kinds of conditions. But I kind of just have to dig a hole first. So the setup that we have here is roughly a hole 3/4 of the way up my knee. I'm going to try to keep the hole about the same depth. And then we have 2 other boards on the side to help spread the load of the board. And then hopefully just reversing on here, it's gonna fold this down into the hole. And then I'm gonna hop out the car and talk through what we're looking at, and I'll reverse forward and show you how the board's looking, see if it's bounced back into shape, and then we'll do this for all 3. Number 1. Well, already the cheapest option has kind of impressed me. The fact that that hasn't snapped, and I can't see any like stretch marks yet, but I'm assuming underneath they'll probably be pretty different. So now I'm gonna drive forward off it and we'll have a look. So you would have seen me just driving forward off it. It's definitely, can you see that? A little bowed still, but definitely not that bad. I can't see any stretch marks in the plastic, you know, that like white creasing it will get, but definitely held its shape and didn't bounce back quite as well as you would hope they would. So I'd say a pass. I'll maybe give it like a 3 out of 5, and let's keep going. So I dug the hole out again, and now it's straight onto the tread. Keep in mind, these are like 6 or 7 years old. The knockoff ones I actually used the whole way around Australia, so they're about 2 years old. And the maxtrax have been on my roof exposed to the elements for over a year now. So they are all like relatively used. None of them are really brand new. I definitely stopped a little bit late, so it just popped off the maxtrax, but it definitely still took the full grunt of the car. So now I'm just gonna quickly drive forward and we can see how well it bounces back. So how has it held up? I can hardly see any bow. There is maybe a tiny bit, but definitely rebounded back into shape way better than the cheaper one. So maybe there is something to this. The more money you spend, the better they are. Yeah, definitely an improvement. Now onto the extremes. In editing, I realized I never talked about the tread board after the flex test. And what you can see is in here, point there, and then the same on the other side, are those stretch marks that I was talking about. Hopefully you can see them there. And my bank account will hurt if these break, but I do have full confidence in them. Well, they are definitely bent the whole way. They're not even touching the bottom of the hole. I maybe dug this one a bit deeper than the others. All right, now let's quickly hop off. All right, moment of truth. Are they back to flat? You might be able to see that better on the camera than I can. And in terms of stretch marks on the maxtrax, I can't really see any, but there is, see if I can get the focus. Here, there is some like almost weird outline bits. They're not really stretched, but so there is something going on. So I'm going with maxtrax win, that's a 5 out of 5. The treads probably get a 4 out of 5, and the knockoffs are a 3 out of 5. All of them pass, I would say. I'm aware that some people have done comparisons before, but there is one test that I've never seen done, and that is test how well the materials of each brand actually wears. Because your tires are gonna be gripping at these things, sometimes spinning on them, and at the end of the day, if you get one use out of them and you have none of the nubs left, what is the point in buying them? So throwing over to Corey in the shed with some power tools, and to test which of the three has the best material, we are taking this belt sander, which is going to pretend to be a wheel, and sanding down the bottom of the tracks, which is for a couple of reasons. First, the maxtrax extremes have the metal, which is going to outlast the plastic by a long way, so it's not really fair to compare metal with plastic. And I kind of want all the boards to still be usable after this test. And also the treads are a bit weather damaged, but underneath they're still pretty much brand new, so I think that just makes it fairer for all three brands. So we're just going to do this as a time trial. I'm just going to hit start on my phone and then sand it down pretty much until one of these crosses is pretty much completely gone, well, as close to smooth as possible. And that will tell us which one wears the slowest out of the three materials. 3, 2, 1. "37 seconds, but I think that's a pretty good representation." And now straight onto the tread. 3, 2, 1. Wow, that was much quicker than I thought it was going to be. Only 11 seconds compared to 30 seconds. I think I might have to redo that one to double check that I didn't stuff something out. Starting. Wow, still 28 seconds, 2/3 longer than the other ones, which is pretty crazy. Now let's go to the maxtrax. I've just come up with a bit of a hypothesis that might be proven right if this maxtrax here is pretty quick, and that is that the more flexible they are, the quicker wearing it is, because they would more rather than bend and wear out a little bit quicker than just blatantly snapping. But we will see. And yes, this hurts me belt sanding this, but it's for the video, so I gotta do it. 3, 2, 1. Wow, that is some surprising results. I'm gonna flip them over and show you through. I don't know about you, but that was not really what I expected to happen. The tread board was last place by about 5 seconds, so worst wearing. Then we had the maxtrax on, I think it was 15 or 14 seconds. Still better than 10, but honestly, I would have put this one as highest on the list, which is really crazy because then the first place, the knockoff, almost 3x'd the time of the maxtrax. So maybe these are somehow better in terms of not wearing down, which you can kind of see by them because I did take them the whole way around Australia. The teeth that are gone mostly are actually snapped, which means it's brittle rather than quick wearing. And then if you go to the tread board, you can see how much of them are actually melted off. Clearly none of them are snapped. And now for the score update, we're gonna add +4 to the knockoffs. Then we're gonna add +2 to the treads. And then finally for the maxtrax is a +5 because you are not touching the plastic, you are touching the metal. All right, so we know that they all can get you out of a bog. And surprisingly, they're all actually pretty durable materials. And we now know which one actually is the strongest. But do they all have the same features? One really important feature is how well they stack, especially because when you're traveling, space is a premium. Even on your roof, if you want to have 4, you want them to stack really nicely so you don't have a massive sail on your roof. The maxtrax Extremes, as you can see here, very slim profile. My treads, not quite as slim, but I would say still pretty passable because they fit together like a good jigsaw. And then we have the knockoffs here, which I would say is a fail. You could not have more space between them if you tried. And now I'm going to talk really quietly because some people pulled up right next to me in the middle of the entire national park. The next feature that I think is really important is the handles. Surprisingly, the imports have handles, which is a massive bonus, especially with my next point with how good they shovel. Once again, really good shovel handles. The treads do a decent job as a shovel, but without the handle makes them kind of difficult to use. And then the maxtrax has 3 handles, so even better, depending on your height, you can hold them really well as a shovel, and they even say shovel on the bottom. So I think as far as features go, the maxtrax is getting a 5 out of 5. Treads, I'm going to give a 3, but I do think they're newer models, they've added handles and even a pros where you can do the replacement teeth like you can on the Extreme. And then the knockoffs, I'm going to have to give them a 3 as well. Don't stack as well, but have the handles and make a good shovel. Okay, so what set of recovery boards are the best? Well, I don't think that is the question that I was ever setting out to answer, because I think the answer is quite obvious. maxtrax, they're the original. They've been around for the longest, and assuming they have done the most research into what material wears the best and is the most flexible at the same time as being the most durable, whereas the other 2 players are still really new. I think the real question we were trying to answer is, are the 2 cheaper options actually going to put up a fight and do the job that they're supposed to do, which is, yes, they did a pretty decent job. But does that mean that you should buy them? I can't answer that for you, but what I can tell you is that if you're someone that goes out once a year, twice a year, or even you have a van and you're just wanting something that in case you happen to get bogged is there to save you, I would probably go these ones. Or if you want something that stacks a bit better, maybe the treads will be a better answer. Or if you're someone that's doing more consistent trips, but still not a crazy wheeler that's getting yourself bogged on purpose, or trying to do massive rock steps all the time that you might want to use recovery boards for, then probably your treads will be fine. But the more that you use them, the more the nubs are going to wear down or even snap off. In the case of these ones here, you might then end up being better off with the Extremes or just the standard maxtrax that don't have the metal tabs in them. So I really think this isn't something that you should be hung up on. Just buy whatever's in your budget or what you think you're actually going to get the most use out of. I do honestly think these are 2 pretty good options, and if I wasn't coming out every week, 4-wheel driving, filming these videos for you guys, so make sure you hit subscribe, I probably wouldn't get the Extremes. I would even just look at the normal maxtrax based off the material experiment we did today. Or depending on the price difference, I might even upgrade to the tread boards that have the metal teeth. Not that I've heard anything about them. They could be bad, they could be good, but just shop around and don't buy them full price no matter what brand you get. And hopefully this video was helpful. If you have any other questions, leave them down below. Or if you have any videos you want me to make, also leave them down below so I can keep pumping these out weekly for you.